Hi guys, this video is going to explain how to set out your assignment and what to include in each section. So we went through the start of this in class. I don't mind if throughout this demonstration or throughout this explanation that if you include in your assignment each of these headings, so anything in the black, okay, I don't mind if you include those as subheadings or headings within your actual assignment because that'll set your assignment out rather neatly. Your actual title for your assignment should be your research question. So I've started this out with, well, this is an example of, I'm going to change this because some graphs that I've got in this example are quite different to this research question. So I'm going to look at the example of the cans. So I'm going to say how do different coloured cars impact the temperature. Okay, something like that. Now, I did go through this before, and in class, and I talked about how there's actually three parts to your assignment. The first bit is your introduction, and it's actually the nice if I could spell the theoretical introduction. Okay, so the theoretical introduction includes all these subheadings. So, what is energy and energy efficiency? So, in the red under each of these titles, I've got what you need to include in this section. So, you should have a definition of energy, a definition of energy efficiency, and you should also talk about the law of conservation of energy in this section. Your next little subheading should be particle theory. So you need to talk about the three states of matter, how the particles are arranged in these three states of matter. And I don't mind if in this section, in this particle theory section, you include a diagram that helps you explain the three states of matter and their particle arrangement. Your next subheading, heat transfer. So there are three types of heat transfer that you need to talk about. You need to also mention how the arrangement of particles that you've just spoken about in particle theory determine the impact of heat transfer. You also need to talk in heat transfer about how heat transfer can be stopped or slowed, for example, through insulation. And then the final section of your theoretical introduction is your focus. This is where you need to talk about your experiment and how it connects and relates to a real world situation. So, for example, if you're doing the coloured cans, you're actually doing a scaled down version of testing temperature inside cars of different colours. We don't have three cars of three different colours available, so you've just designed a classroom experiment that will allow you to test that. So that's what you need to talk about. And you need to talk about why it's important to know that information. So why would we want to know what coloured car is cool inside? And you can talk about things like maybe a family might want to buy a car and they want to know what car will keep their family the coolest or something like that. So you've got to relate it to real life. Now, the second major part of your assignment is the practical report. Okay, so your practical report is basically just a standard practical report that you've all done before. So it's going to have sections like an aim, where you need to identify what you want to observe or find out or prove. So what's the point of the experiment? A hypothesis. Now, a hypothesis is a prediction. It's an educated prediction, okay, or an educated statement based on what you know about the content. For example, if you're doing the can one and you've got a black, red, and a white can, you would make a prediction that the white can would absorb less heat because white reflects more heat and black absorbs more. So that's how you would come up with your hypothesis. Don't start it with "I believe" because that's first person, and you need to talk. You need to write in third person in your assignment. Have a section method materials, so that's pretty easy. Just a list of the materials you use and your methods. You should pretty much be able to copy and paste that straight out of your risk assessments. Now, this is where you need to put your data in the next section, results. So you should have collected a table that looks something like this, and you need to put that in your results section. And you should also have a graph. If you don't have a table and a graph, you have not collected the right data. You need to be able to have a table and a graph. So your graph just represents the data you've collected up here. So this is my graph here, and as you can see, I've got my black can gets warmer and warmer and warmer, and my white can, it doesn't get as warm as the black can. Okay, now once we've looked and observed this graph and we've noticed the different trends that are occurring, this is when you need to go to your discussion and start writing your discussion. So you've got to explain your graphs, what happened in your experiment. Well, in this experiment, our black can absorbed more of the heat and it got hotter. The water inside the can was hotter than the water inside the white can. Discuss why this happened. Well, this happened because black absorbs more heat and white reflects more heat. You may also need to do some research. So if you can actually do some research and find a study that shows that white cars are cooler than black cars, you've actually done yourself a really big favor, because that's more at an A-level standard. So if you're getting information from other studies that have looked into this actual topic before, you're doing yourself a favor in this subject. And then the last part of your discussion, did the experiment go as you thought it would? This is not where you write, I think the experiment went perfectly. You need to talk about things like maybe your graph might have an outlier. So you might have like a point down here, which doesn't make sense when everything's up here. Okay, or your graph might go in a downwards trend. Shouldn't, but it might. So you need to discuss whether there was anything that actually occurred that may have influenced your results and why. Now, this section, your next section, is your evaluation. So it's similar to the last part of your discussion. The evaluation looks at any limiting factors. So in your experiment, was there anything that prevented you from completing the experiment? Were your results right? Were there any anomalies? Okay, which is like a data point being way out of place. And what may have caused these. So particularly if you're outside recording data in the sun and you're talking to friends, and you might have recorded your data you're supposed to be recording at 20 minutes and you recorded at 21 minutes. You would actually talk about this in your evaluation. It might seem silly, but that's actually something that you could genuinely talk about. You also need to mention how you could improve this experiment in the future. What measures could you take to actually improve how you did your experiments and how you collected your data? And then the last section is the conclusion. So you just need to write a short summary, and whether you achieved the aim and whether your hypothesis was correct or not. So confirm whether it's proven or disproven and why. So you probably also just need to mention the results as well. So you'd refer to graph A or whatever you call your graph. Guys, that's about it. Once you've got all these parts of your assignment, that's pretty much it complete. So it is due in week 7 at some point, but I will get back to people as to the exact day. Okay, thanks guys.